Clacker?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I heard that too. And
student or what? Are you in an engineering program or just at school or what are you doing?
Well, if I tell you what it's about, you might be upset. The planes on 9/11, okay?
Yeah.
The second plane to hit the tower, Flight 175, they calculate the speed at between like FEMA and NIST and all those places calculated it around roughly 540 miles an hour at sea level when it hit the tower. And I've talked to a lot of aeronautical engineers and pilots, and they said that's impossible. It can't do that speed.
Yeah, I don't. I really don't know the circumstances of what altitude they started at or anything. I'd have to check. It wouldn't be 540. No, there's no way you're going to do that at sea level.
Mm-hmm. So they must have made a mistake in their calculations of the speed, I guess. That would be
no idea, unless they're using kilometers instead of miles per hour or nautical miles or something.
Well, they said miles per hour. But that's a big problem a lot of people have with the official story.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you're ever interested in taking a look at any of this stuff. I have a website called pumpitout.com.
Yeah.
And you can basically find all kinds of links there to look.
Okay, I'll have a look at it if I have anything fresh on that. And you say 540 miles per hour.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Interesting stuff. Are you just doing this as a freelancer, are you?
Yeah, I've just been looking into it for a while, and it's just out of my own personal curiosity. I'm trying to understand what I'm being told.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, good luck with your research then.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
And I talked to another aeronautical engineer from Canada, and he said since the air is 3 times as thick at sea level, it would need to generate 6 times more thrust, which would be impossible with those engines.
Yeah, you square above your best rate of climb, airspeed, which is we call VY in the aerodynamics. Drag increases the square the velocity of the airspeed, and the power required to maintain that increases to the cube. At the altitude which they had these airplanes flying around on, at 8 out of 1,000 feet to hit the North and South Tower, and the Flight 77 that allegedly hit the Pentagon, they had them doing about 530 statute miles an hour. Now you convert that to nautical miles an hour, and if my memory serves me correctly, I think it's about 460 knots, which is about 110 knots over max design limit speed.
So you'd be in agreement that, like specifically say like Flight 175, that speed would have been impossible?
Oh, sure, at level flight, yeah, no question about it.
And then I hear the argument I always see is, oh, well, it was in a power dive. But I've even talked to, like, lots of eyewitnesses that day, and they never mentioned anything about a power dive. When I asked them about a power dive...
What do they mean by a power dive?
Well, I was saying, like, dropping out of the sky, like a dive bombing out of the sky from, like, 30,000
Oh, those
feet.
are planes that were going in level flight.
Yeah, that's what I understood it to be, too.
Even if they, came back from a distance and they were going down at a 45-degree angle or any kind of angle, and had the throttles to the forward as far as they can go, well, once you exceed the VMO limit speed, you start getting horrendous airspeed and aerodynamic problems. So it's absolutely impossible for these. See, the reason they had these airplanes going so fast is because, number one, the guy that made up the fairy tale didn't know his ass from third base about airplanes or high-speed flight.
So would you be in agreement with, have you read all the stuff that John Lear had said about the speeds being impossible?
No, I haven't read what he said, but did he say what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Essentially?
Essentially, yeah. He said it wouldn't be able to do those speeds.
No, of course not.
The speed would, like, we've been over the speed a million times. I'm sure you're sick of having to type it out to people and stuff on the internet. I guess, like, all the information that anyone would need to know about the impossible speed of the airplane would be found in your affidavit that you sent.
Right.
Like, I was reading through that, and you basically have everything covered in that, right?
Right. And recently people have been saying, oh yeah, but he did it in a power dive, and what they don't understand is aerodynamics doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether you're in a dive or going straight or going up or down or upside down. The laws of aerodynamics apply to an airfoil. So it doesn't matter if you dove from 20,000 feet.
The impossible speed myth is one of the most damaging, calling into question the speed of the aircraft prior to its impact with the South Tower. Its most virulent form is a video by an entity called Pump It Out, but it is being endorsed by such sites as Scholars for 9/11 Truth, whose homepage carries the motto, exposing falsehoods and revealing truths. Then, only a few lines from the top, new evidence, Flight 175 impossible speed. Next, an unequivocal statement from the editor, proof of video fakery. And the link is to the Pump It Out video, which opens like this. Yet the impossible speed myth is one of the biggest falsehoods imaginable. That a group calling themselves Scholars didn't do some checking is quite incredible. While Googling impossible speed may be easier, the Federal Aviation Administration's information is rather more accurate. A personal search may take some time, but brings its own reward. However, a direct link to the relevant document is included in the information about this video. If you open the document, what you'll be looking at is the Type Certificate Data Sheet A1NM for the Boeing 767 series of aircraft, and if you search for speed, you'll find this, airspeed limits, the first line of which is the relevant one. Translating the jargon, VD means vertical dive or maximum dive speed, and KCAS stands for knots calibrated airspeed. Multiplying the speed in knots by 1.151 gives the speed in miles per hour, which means that the Boeing 767 is permitted to fly and fly safely at 483 miles per hour at altitudes up to about 18,000 feet. This would, of course, include the altitude of 700 feet.
Hey, Jeff?
Hello?
I have John Regibald on the line. He's going to try to help you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
I may need to refer your question to our flight test branch. Pam said it's something about an airspeed limit, but I can at least try to do a good job getting you to the right person finally.
Well, yeah, I was looking on the internet and I came across this A1NM file, Type Certificate Data Sheet.
Okay.
And it had airspeed limits. And under that it had the line, it says VD equals 420 knots calibrated airspeed to 17,854 feet per 0.91 m above 23,000 feet linear variation.
Yeah.
Now, does that, I'm just trying to understand what that line means.
Okay, so what that's telling you is given those additional lines showing Mach number versus altitude, you would plot 0.91 Mach number at 23,000 feet. That would be a point on the chart, and then you draw a straight line from that point to the 420 knot 17,000 foot point, and that line becomes your speed limit between 17,000 feet and 23,000 feet.
Okay, because someone had explained it to me as that line that we're talking about indicated that a plane could go 500 miles an hour at 700 feet altitude. And
that's not the intent.
So that has no indication that it's saying that the plane could go like 500 miles an hour.
No.
Busted.